Your San Francisco quarterback, I'm sure nobody ever heard of him. I'm just reporting the news. There was an article today. I love to report the news, and then they said I made a mistake, right? I said, no, the people reporting the news made a mistake if it's wrong. But there was an article today, it was reported, that NFL owners don't want to pick him up because they don't want to get a nasty tweet from Donald Trump. Do you believe that?
Only in America. That was the president speaking at a rally last night in Louisville saying Colin Kaepernick is still a free agent because teams don't want to receive a nasty tweet from Trump himself. He also blamed the NFL's slumping ratings on Kaepernick's season-long national anthem protest. Max Kellerman, is Trump right about Kaepernick here?
Of course not. Of course he's wrong. Is Trump the reason that RG3 and Jay Cutler currently don't have jobs, or that Tony Romo's situation is unresolved? Of course not. Because all these quarterback moves are related to each other. And the dominoes have to start falling, and then we'll see what's what. But making outrageous claims with zero evidence, that's what this president's done. And this is, you know, par for the course. There's zero evidence for what he's saying, but he's making the claim anyway. And the thing that really bothers me about it is that, let's do this thought experiment for a second. Let's say he's actually right. Why is he bragging about using his position, admittedly, he's saying that people don't want to get a tweet from him, to intimidate business into making decisions that chill free speech? That he's proud about that. So that would be worse. But luckily, the fact is that there's zero evidence that what he's saying is true.
My response to that is I think you're being highly sensitive and unnecessarily so to what he's saying. I think when he makes a statement like they don't want to be intimidated by me or whatever, that's a tongue-in-cheek comment. Personally, I didn't take that very, very seriously. But do I think Trump could be right? I think the operative word is could. Do I know that he's right or not? No, I don't. But is it possible? Sure, it's possible. Donald Trump, I'm sorry to break this news to everybody, received 62.9 million votes. Donald Trump received 304 electoral college votes. There is a large populace out there, maybe not as large as the popular vote because we all know Hillary Clinton won in that department, but you have tens of millions of people who voted for this man. Now you have a guy like Colin Kaepernick, who deduced that based on the way Donald Trump was campaigning, that Donald Trump was racist. Well, okay, well, if you're assuming he's racist, then you're basically saying those who voted for him, forget the 29% of the Latino population, forget the 8% of the black population, you have tens of millions of white Americans who voted for him. And if that is a fact, which it is, okay, and they make up 66% of the American population, and by and large, they're the ones patronizing the NFL product, and as far as I know, there are no black nor Latino owners in the sport of the National Football League, then it is not beyond the realm of comprehension to deduce that Colin Kaepernick's stance, combined with him being 3-16 over the last 2 years as a starting quarterback, only completing 59% of his passes, really not getting anything done, appearing to be a shell of himself. But that combined with their personal feelings about what Colin Kaepernick elected to do, it is entirely plausible that Donald Trump could be right in terms of that may be the reason, to some degree, why Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job. If that's not the case, why did Spike Lee even think to send out the tweet about him, or the Instagram, whatever it was, a couple of days ago? Why do that?
Okay, let's see. So, well, you're right that tens of millions of people voted for Donald Trump. But that doesn't mean that all those tens of millions of people agree with every single thing Donald Trump says.
I know that.
And I'm sure, I know you know that. And no one is above criticism, including the President of the United States. The fact is, in my estimation, Donald Trump is just flat wrong here. I mean, yeah, as I said yesterday, there are teams that are going to be afraid of the branding effect of having Colin Kaepernick on their team, and that's going to be offset against what has been seen as a declining play on the field. And that risk-reward ratio is going to scare off some teams. But the idea, see, here's the thing. Donald Trump, Spike Lee, Michael Moore, they're all on the same side of this issue. They're saying there are some reasons beyond Colin Kaepernick himself, Colin Kaepernick's play, Colin Kaepernick's protest that he himself enacted, that he's not being employed. And they're all wrong. The NFL owners are not doing this because of Spike Lee's nefarious motives, he suspects, or Donald Trump's. I don't know if he's reveling in it or suggesting that it's ridiculous. I agree with that opinion, Stephen A. I don't really know what he's doing in that moment. Is he reveling in the idea that he could be forcing someone into the unemployment line, or is he saying it's ridiculous that he could be? But either way, it's not what's actually doing it. And I do agree with this point, Max, very thoroughly. I made this criticism of previous presidents, and I will make it of this one. If it is, in fact, that you are reveling in the fact that you might be helping to contribute to some private citizen's unemployment, well, shame on you. That's not the use of the bully pulpit. That's not the point of the presidency. And to use it in such a manner is beneath the office. And by the way, if he's not being serious, if he is tongue-in-cheek, as you said, Stephen A., well, the office is serious. And the pulpit is serious. And this is not a way to use it. So,
well, he's clearly reveling in it. He's clearly reveling in it. By the way, that's part of the MO also, taking bows for things that he thinks are good.
Maybe, Max. I don't. My aim is to be fair and accurate. My aim is not to presume there and fill in that blank. I don't know. Perhaps he was reveling in it. Perhaps he was saying this idea is ridiculous. Either way, it does not absolve what he did from that stage. A, I think it's false. B, if it's true, it's the wrong use of the presidency of the United States of America. There are better things Donald Trump could be doing or working on.
Well, I'd like to piggyback off of that. First of all, y'all want to waste y'all breath talking about how Donald Trump shouldn't be using his pulpit. I mean, why don't you just say the sky is blue and get over it? I mean, who the hell doesn't know that? There's no president alive that should be engaging in the kind of behavior in terms of the tweets and things of that nature that he has done. That's a given. But I must confess, I'm quite shocked at the both of you to automatically and summarily dismiss the possibility that billionaires, all of whom happen to be white, all of whom care about their bottom line, all of whom are ultra sensitive to anything that could potentially compromise or impede the bottom line, cognizant of a public out there that is supportive of him and some of his tactics, tendencies, and beyond, that y'all would just summarily dismiss the notion that some kind of decisions can be based off of the premise that making the decision might render us to be unpopular and compromise our bottom line. I think that it's possible. I don't know this to be sure. I'm just saying y'all don't know either. And to say that you do is shocking.
That's always part of the calculation, of course. But here we're responding to the fact that the president said that this is a result of the fact that no one wants to get an angry tweet about this from Donald Trump. He said that. And so that suggests that he thinks that he is taking, it doesn't suggest, he is here taking a bow for the fact that Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job.
Listen, guys.
And to make a causal relationship between his tweets and the fact that Kaepernick has a job, that's what we're analyzing. And it's pretty obvious.
All right.
He's taking a bow for something he didn't do. And if he did it, then that is shameful. It's not something to be proud of, as Will said.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is that the president should have bigger fish to fry than a backup quarterback status. But let's get a player's perspective, or I should say former player for that matter. Chris Bosh would give anything to be playing right now. Bosh was forced to leave the game due to blood clots, so he has a simple perspective on the NBA's rest or play debate, telling the Associated Press this. I can see it in some instances, but then at the same time, if you can play. When there's so much work to do, it's kind of hard to see why guys would take time off. With that said, from a player's side, the schedule is intense. But I guess that's part of being in the NBA, and I think what happened was when young guys started saying, oh, rest, that kind of brought it to a tipping point a little bit. Now, keep in mind, LeBron James and the Cavaliers' Big Three sat out during Saturday's primetime game against the Clippers. Stephen A., how should LeBron feel about his former teammates' comments?
Well, he shouldn't like it because in the 4 years that they played together in Miami, Chris Bosh missed 11 more games than LeBron James. In 4 years' time, LeBron missed a grand total of 14 games. Chris Bosh missed 25. I think D. Wade missed like 64, but obviously he was injured. It wasn't just rest. He was injured and trying to work his way through that. But LeBron only missed 14 games in 4 years. And so Chris Bosh, who missed 25 games, if you're LeBron James, you might like be a little bit salty about that particular comment. But let me take it a step further. I also want to sit up there and take a moment to say LeBron James is not being slick here either. I mean, even though Chris Bosh isn't the one to speak, I don't have a problem with Adam Silver. I don't have a problem with James Harden, who hasn't missed a game this year. Russell Westbrook, who has not missed a game this year. I have no problem with any of those dudes if they choose to sit up there and remind everybody it's about showing up to work and playing every single day if you can, unless you're not healthy enough to do so. And you know, I look at this story and listen, we all know that LeBron James is a superstar, not just a superstar player, but a superstar person. His philanthropy is well documented and what have you. He deserves credit for that. But LeBron James also needs to get credit for being shrewd as hell. Because in the aftermath of his highly insensitive and arrogant comments about how the NBA can't do anything about players missing games, once the shrapnel of verbiage and cynicism came aimed in his direction, because of that comment, conveniently we hear something about his new sneaker line coming out and how he got folks from the Cleveland Clinic, brought some kids over there to the Cleveland Cavaliers practice facility and all of that stuff. His heart's in the right place. He does tremendous things for the community. I'm not taking away any of that. I'm just talking about the timing of the story. Because in the end, what it comes down to is this. No matter what you do, LeBron James' character is not to be questioned. His greatness is not to be questioned. But you are highly insensitive towards the fans when you said what you said. And the way you've been taken off when you missed the 6 games that you've missed this year. Sitting on the sidelines, eating cookies and stuff like that, laughing with your teammates while fans thought you were going to play and they paid to come see you play. All of those kind of things are the kind of things that we need to be paying attention to. I appreciate his philanthropy. We all should. But we should not forget the fact that you're a marquee. And with being a marquee comes showing up on the damn basketball court and acting like a marquee.
Chris Bosh's point is that if you're healthy, you should play. And for a guy whose health has not permitted him to play basketball anymore, I can understand that point of view. Sitting there alone with his thoughts, thinking if only I was healthy enough to play, I'd do anything to be out there. I get that. He's not wrong. It's a legitimate point of view. But again, let's look at the ethics of this. The ethics are competitive interest for your team. Yes, LeBron James is part of the NBA, but he plays for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And if I was a Cavs fan, I would have no problem with LeBron James sitting down because his first ethical responsibility is to try to win a championship for the Cleveland Cavs. So let's look at how successful he is at doing that. He's now won 3 championships in his career. He's been in every finals since the Stone Age, basically. And his previous 2 trips to the finals, one where his 2 superstar buddies were missing. He had a heroic all-time great performance, should have been the MVP, even though they lost in 6 games to a great team against the Warriors, and then staged maybe the greatest comeback in NBA history when he had his help, when his running partners weren't hurt, down 3-1 on the road against the greatest team by regular season record of all time, came back and won as a result of his play and was the MVP. So the idea to say, hey, LeBron James, the way you're going about your business, you should do it differently, to me is far-fetched. The only argument there is the business interests of the league demand it. But his ethical responsibility primarily is to the Cleveland Cavaliers and their pursuit of a championship. And in that regard, how could you possibly criticize him?
Max, to be clear, you and I have a difference of what his ethical responsibility ultimately is. You say it's winning a championship. I say it's showing up to work every day first. That's what I say.
I
His
say winning a
ethical
championship
responsibility.
first.
I understand. That's fine. We're on two opposite ends of the place because in order to win that championship, you first got to show up and show up to work. We got to show up to work today. Cal Ripken is celebrated, into perpetuity. Why? Because he showed up to work every
In
day.
baseball,
the fans paid to
no
see him play
shortcuts.
for 162
baseball,
games a year, and he showed up. That's all I'm saying.
In baseball, sometimes in the middle of the season, in the last Yankees dynasty, Mariano Rivera.
Baseball, Max, the baseball.
Mariano Rivera might be available, and Joe Torre may have looked and said, yes, I could use him today to seal this victory, and the fans would get to see him. But I need to rest his arm because we're going to make a deep playoff run, and we need to win then. And
Max,
they won the World Series every year.
Max, it's
so
too
did he do
early
the right
for the
thing or the
baseball
wrong thing?
analogies. Can we wait till the second hour
I
for
can't
the
talk
baseball?
about baseball at all on this